Hello, welcome everyone to another track guide. Once again, it's Whilton Mill, but this is the first time I've got a track guide with the new chicane. So I've gone into way more detail on this, and hopefully you appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if this is actually any better, and I'll redo my other track guides for you guys. A new thing I am trying to do here is try and make it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing with the pedals. So I'm introducing the red bar on the left for braking and the green bar on the right for accelerating. If you think this is handy, let me know and I can redo all my track guides I've done with these bars, with the more detail I'm going into, with the top down view, all that stuff. So please let me know in the comments below if this is handy to you. So we're coming into turn one, and this is an easy flat out left. So you want to aim towards this curb here, and you want to take as much of this as you can. Seriously, you want to try and get around as far to the left as you can. And you come into the right. Now, this inside curb here, you really want to avoid it. It'll unsettle you and it'll push you too far wide on the exit. So as you can see here, I'm getting as close as possible without actually touching it. And we use the whole full width of the track. We go maximum side width just to maintain as much speed as possible. So here we come. We're coming up to Christmas. So this is the big braking after the end of the main straight. You want to be going up, keep yourself on the left-hand side towards the marshal post and watch where I'm starting to brake. I'm braking a good 3 or 4 kart lengths before the marshal post starts, keeping it to the left-hand side as possible. And then I'm trying to turn in as late as possible. I really want a late apex here. As you can see, I'm aiming for the very end of the curb, but I'm not actually hitting the curb because once again, that will throw you out far too much on the left hand side, which will then ruin your left here. So what you want to do is try and leave yourself a bit of room, and then you want to absolutely muller this curve here. Open up the steering just to maintain as much speed as you can through the corner, and then we head towards the right hander. Alright, now, so this, I think, is the trickiest braking zone on the whole track. It's a downhill corner. So as you can see, I'm all the way to the left-hand side. And I'm going to start braking well before that cut through. As you can see, there's kind of like the Alfano strip. That's my braking point. And then this is quite an early apex for me personally. And then I'll try and take as much of this curb as humanly possible. And then the same with the other 2 corners, or the previous 2 corners even. Open up the steering, use the maximum amount of runoff as possible. Try not to dip a wheel, and then flat out through that. And now we're coming on to a tricky little left-hander. It looks quite simple, but there's way more to it than you'd imagine. So as you can see, I'm turning in before we get to the end of the cut through, and I'm also on the brakes, but I'm not on it really hard. I'm kind of on the brakes just to load up the front to get some front end grip. Try not to take this curb, but ultimately, if you do end up taking it, it's not the end of the world. Open up the steering, use as much of the track as possible, but watch out for the drop off from the exit. And now coming to a corner which will really make or break your lap. This, I think, is really important. So as you can see, I'm on the brakes already, and I'm braking, trail braking essentially, but I'm on the throttle. You can see how early I'm on the throttle here. You really want to power through this corner, really maintain as much speed as possible, but avoid that curb on the left. Once again, it is a beast. It will unsettle you too much. Open up your steering, and then I really like the line of running this curb here. It probably doesn't make any difference, but in my head, your rear wheels lift off the floor, it frees it up, and it's worth a bit of time. Probably actually doesn't make any difference, but in my head it does. And now we're coming to the start of the boot, which has changed drastically since the chicane's been added in. So we're going to come up into the corner, and I'm going to pause it just before the braking point. Once again, we've got the Alfano strips. That's where you want to start braking. And if you watch my foot, I'm trail braking. I'm braking all the way in to about this point. So I'm going to zoom back out and show it properly. So here I've started my brake. I'm trailing in, and I'm aiming for that curb to take as much of that as possible. But then I want to keep it left, as if I'm going into pit lane. You can see these white dotted lines. You want to aim to at least minimum have your left-hand wheels on it. Then a late apex. Now this used to be follow it as wide as possible, maintain as much speed, but now you need to keep it a lot tighter in, so it makes it even more crucial that you do not hit that inside curve. Then you want to carry on running tight, set yourself up for the new last chicane. And now this is really what the track guide is all about. The new last chicane of Whilton Mill. It's really hard here because there is no real referencing for braking points when I filmed this. I was braking earlier, and then this bit here, it really depends on how the cones are set up. Ideally, you want to take as much curb as you're allowed to. So if the cones are further back, take as much as you can. And then point yourself towards the outside to turn in. Do not run this curb. It will unsettle you again. It'll push you wide, and you'll probably get track limits on the exit over here. And then you want to open up the steering as much as you can, but be super, super careful for track limits. So, I hope this video has helped you guys. If you do actually find it helpful, with my new style of doing it, I've gone into way more detail than I used to. If you actually think it's any better, please drop me a comment below, let me know, and if so, I'll go through and do all the videos. These have got to be the worst boots I've ever driven.